The silence that hurt more than words. I still remember the last time my phone rang with his name on the screen. It wasn't dramatic. There was no argument, no goodbye, just silence. At first, I told myself he was busy. Life happens. Children grow up. They get jobs, families, responsibilities. I didn't want to be that mother, the one who complains, who asks too many questions, who feels like a burden. So I waited. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Every morning, I checked my phone before I even got out of bed. Every night, I placed it beside me, face up, volume on high just in case. I never missed a call that never came. I replayed our last conversation again and again, searching for something I might have said wrong. Did my voice sound tired? Did I complain too much? Did I ask for too much of his time? I told myself, don't overthink. But when you're a mother, silence feels loud. I would sit at the kitchen table with a cup of tea growing cold in my hands, staring at the empty chair across from me. That chair used to be his. Homework spread out, questions asked, laughter filling the room. Now it was just empty. Friends told me to give him space. Children grow distant, they said. Don't take it personally. But how do you not take it personally when the person you carried, protected, and loved suddenly disappears from your life? I never chased him with messages. I never demanded explanations. I started blaming myself. After a while, the silence stopped feeling temporary. It started feeling intentional. I tried to stay busy. I cleaned rooms that were already clean. I cooked meals for one. I folded laundry slowly, as if time itself might soften if I moved gently enough. But in the quiet moments, my mind turned against me. I began to question everything. Maybe I was too strict when he was younger. Maybe I pushed him too hard to be independent. Maybe I didn't listen enough when he tried to tell me who he was becoming. I replayed years of memories, searching for the moment where I might have failed him. There were nights I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone in my hands, typing his name into the message box, then deleting it before sending anything. I didn't want to guilt him. I didn't want to sound desperate. I told myself, if he wants to talk, he will. But the truth is, every unsent message felt like another small heartbreak. I watched other mothers laugh with their sons in grocery stores, in cafes, in passing cars. I smiled politely, then went home and cried in the shower where no one could hear me. I wondered if he was angry with me, or worse, if he had simply outgrown me. And that thought that I had become forgettable hurt more than I ever expected. Still, I respected his silence. I kept my distance. I stayed quiet, because that's what mothers do when they're afraid of losing their children forever. What I didn't realize was that my silence was protecting him from something he was trying desperately to hide. Here it comes. The night I almost called him. There was one night I came closer than ever to breaking my silence. It was late. The house was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your thoughts louder. I had just finished washing the dishes when I noticed something small but familiar, his favorite mug, pushed to the back of the cabinet. I don't know why, but seeing it felt like a punch to my chest. I sat down at the table and wrapped my hands around it, even though it was cold. Memories came rushing in, him rushing through the door after school, dropping his bag, talking nonstop while I pretended to listen and cook dinner at the same time. Back then, I thought those moments would last forever. That night, I opened my phone and stared at his name for a long time. My thumb hovered over the call button. My heart raced like it used to when he was a child and ran ahead of me in a crowded place. I whispered his name out loud, just to hear it. But fear stopped me. Fear of bothering him. Fear of being ignored. Fear of hearing a tone in his voice that would confirm what I was afraid of. that he no longer needed me. So I put the phone down. I told myself I was being strong. I told myself I was respecting his space. But deep down, I was just scared of the truth. That night, I cried quietly, pressing my face into a pillow so no one would hear. I cried for the son I missed, and for the mother I was becoming, one who loved from a distance. I didn't know it then, but that same night, he was struggling too. And the reason he stopped calling me had nothing to do with forgetting me. It had everything to do with protecting me. Part 4. The first sign something was wrong. A few days after that night, something unexpected happened. I received a message, but not from him. It was from an old family friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. The message was simple, almost casual, but it made my stomach tighten the moment I read it. "Have you heard from your son lately?" I stared at the screen, my fingers suddenly cold. I typed back slowly, choosing my words carefully. "Not recently. Is everything okay?" There was a pause, long enough to make my heart pound. Then another message appeared. "I thought he was visiting you. He didn't sound well the last time we spoke." Didn't sound well? Those words echoed in my mind. I wanted to ask more, but something told me to be careful. I didn't want to sound alarmed. I didn't want to overreact. So I replied with a polite sentence and ended the conversation. But my thoughts wouldn't stop. I replayed every recent memory, his voice the last time we spoke, the way he laughed, the way he said goodbye a little too quickly. I had been so focused on my own feelings that I hadn't noticed the cracks in his. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I imagined him alone somewhere, carrying something heavy, choosing silence instead of reaching out. And for the first time, the pain shifted. It wasn't just about missing him anymore. It was about fear. Fear that my son was hurting, and I wasn't there to help him. Fear that my quiet respect for his space had kept me from seeing what he was going through. And deep down, I sensed it. This wasn't distance. This was something much more fragile. When I finally heard his voice again, I didn't sleep that night. By morning, fear had replaced hesitation. I realized something painfully clear: if something was wrong, I didn't want my pride or patience to be the reason I stayed silent. So I called him. Once, twice. On the third try, the call connected. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then I heard his voice. It sounded tired, not rushed, not distant, just exhausted. "Hi, Mom," he said quietly. That one sentence broke something inside me. I wanted to cry, to ask 1,000 questions at once, to beg him never to disappear again. But I held myself together. "I just wanted to hear your voice," I said. "Are you okay?" There was a pause, a long one. "I didn't want to worry you," he finally said. That's when I knew. This wasn't about anger. This wasn't about forgetting me. He had been carrying something alone. He told me he hadn't been sleeping well, that days felt heavy, that some mornings, even getting out of bed felt like too much. He laughed softly and said he was just tired. But mothers know when their children are lying to protect them. I listened more than I spoke. I didn't interrupt. I didn't try to fix anything. I just let him talk. And in that moment, I realized something painful and beautiful at the same time. My son hadn't stopped calling because he didn't love me. He stopped calling because he didn't want me to hear how much he was struggling. And that truth hurt more than the silence ever did. The truth he was afraid to say. After he finished speaking, there was a silence between us. Not the painful kind, the careful kind. Then he said something I wasn't prepared for. "I didn't call because I didn't want you to hear me like this." My chest tightened. He told me he felt like he was failing at life, that the job he worked so hard for no longer felt right, that the future he imagined didn't look the way he thought it would. And the hardest part wasn't the struggle itself, it was the shame that came with it. "I'm supposed to be strong," he said. "I didn't want to disappoint you, disappoint me." I wanted to reach through the phone and hold his face the way I used to when he was a child. I wanted to remind him that he didn't have to earn my love with success. But instead of rushing in with reassurance, I let him finish. He told me he was afraid if he talked to me, he would break down. And if he broke down, he wouldn't know how to put himself back together again. That's when it hit me. He wasn't protecting himself from me. He was protecting me from his pain. All those unanswered calls, all that silence. It wasn't rejection. It was love misplaced, misunderstood, and heavy. I took a deep breath and spoke carefully. "You could never disappoint me," I said. "Not for being human." And in that moment, I heard him cry. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like someone who had been holding it in for far too long. What I told him that night, I didn't try to fix his life. I didn't give advice. I didn't offer solutions. I just spoke to him the way I wish someone had spoken to me during my hardest moments. I told him that life doesn't always follow the plan we imagine, that even the strongest people lose their way sometimes, and that needing rest doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. I reminded him of who he was before the world taught him to doubt himself. The boy who asked endless questions. The young man who cared deeply, even when it cost him something. "You don't have to be okay for me," I said. "You just have to be honest." There was a softness in his voice when he answered this time. Less tension, less fear. He told me he felt relieved just saying it out loud. That he had been carrying the weight alone because he thought that was what grown men were supposed to do. I told him something my own mother never told me. You don't have to carry everything by yourself. That night, we talked longer than we had in years. About small things. About memories. About nothing important at all. And yet, it meant everything. When we finally said goodbye, he promised to call again. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And for the first time in a long time, I slept peacefully. Not because everything was fixed, but because the silence was finally gone. What silence really means. After that night, my son didn't suddenly become okay. Life didn't magically fall into place for him. There were still difficult days, still moments of doubt, still long pauses between calls. But the silence felt different. It no longer felt like distance. It felt like trust. I learned something important through all of this sometimes. When the people we love go quiet, it isn't because they've stopped caring. It's because they don't know how to ask for help. They're afraid of being seen at their weakest. As parents, we spend so much time teaching our children to be strong, but we forget to teach them that it's okay to fall apart too. That night reminded me that love isn't about fixing everything. It's about staying present, about listening without judgment, about creating a space where honesty feels safe. I stopped counting missed calls after that. I stopped measuring love by frequency, because real connection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet voice on the other end of the line saying, "Thank you for listening." If you're a parent listening to this, reach out, even if you're afraid, even if you don't know the right words. And if you're a son or daughter who's been silent, please remember this. You don't have to be strong alone. Sometimes, the people who love you the most are just waiting to hear your voice. If this story touched your heart, you're welcome to stay here. Like the video, subscribe to the StorySoul Haven channel, and take care of yourself. I'll be here whenever you need a quiet place to listen.